Michele, welcome to You Bet Your Garden.
Hello.
Hello, Michele. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I am from Manayunk, but I'm calling from King of Prussia, outside of the Philadelphia Metro Wildlife Clinic, where I am volunteer assistant director.
Oh, okay. So you are a director at a wildlife clinic. Is this where people...
I am a state licensed wildlife clinic, a wildlife hospital for where wild animals get hurt, and they're brought by members of the public.
Right. So if we find an owl with a broken wing, we bring it to you.
Correct.
That's great work. Thank you for doing that. It must be emotionally rewarding, but not financially.
You got it exactly. So I am at the forefront of when animals and the human world collide and animals get hurt. And it's usually things like cars or hit by windows, but a new problem has occurred in the last month. We have gotten about 10 different animals stuck in the spotted lanternfly sticky paper that has been brought onto the market to control the really bad spotted lanternfly problem.
Let me interrupt you there, because our listeners around the country don't know about this pest yet. They will soon enough. But the spotted lanternfly is a crazy-looking invasive insect from Asia. It looks like a circus clown, really. Mm-hmm. And it has been spotted in southeastern Pennsylvania and is slowly spreading county by county. Now, just the other day, I was driving to an area called Harleysville, and there was a feed store that had a big sign outside. We now have spotted lanternfly supplies. Is this what they mean? They're using sticky traps, sticky paper?
I think so. So this paper, it's like a glue trap for mice, but it's really big, a couple feet long and a couple feet wide. I don't know how it's applied to the tree, but I know that it's applied to the tree and it's catching. We have gotten several big brown bats stuck to it.
Oh.
We've gotten at least 5 woodpeckers of various types stuck to it. And we even got a red-tailed hawk stuck to it, which are huge hawks.
I know.
He survived, but got most of his feathers pulled out. But a lot of the smaller birds died in really struggling, awful situations.
Well, every single creature you just mentioned is a tremendous predator of pest insects and vermin.
Especially bats. So we posted this on Facebook, and I got a lot of vitriol. I'll probably get death threats for being on this program because people are very angry that I dared to suggest that we don't do something about the spotted lanternfly problem. And that's not what I'm saying at all.
That's so bogus.
It's not a zero-sum game. We can control this really bad invasive insect, but maybe my plea here, my reason for calling today, is to help that someone somewhere can come up with some solution that is not killing animals.
Now, a couple of questions. You say this is like rolls of wallpaper. This isn't small stuff here.
Like everything that some people cut the animal out, and so I haven't seen the actual product in its package, but the one that the woodpecker, the most recent downy woodpecker came on, it was about 2 feet long and a foot wide.
Wow.
And not stiff. It was like very thin, bendable paper.
And did you find any lanternflies on the paper?
Yes. A couple times it was covered. So this is effective for lanternfly, but it's catching other things.
Traps like this in the wild, so to speak, to begin with, if we were talking about a farm here or something like that, we would have the lanternfly traps out, hopefully in an amended manner. But It would just be
maybe a cage.
Yeah, it would be to tell us that the first lanternfly has shown up. Mm-hmm. And then you go about your business of then bringing out your sprays or whatever you're going to do to protect your crop. Very rarely are sticky traps used for control. They're used for monitoring most of the time.
Apparently, a lot of scientists, this has been the method that has been the most pushed and the most promoted, I've learned since posting this on Facebook. People are like, well, there's nothing else we can do. And you'd rather, we lose all these billions of dollars of agricultural revenue just to save a few animals. And I think, well, like you pointed out rightly, we're on the side of science as well. Bats are threatened, and they are incredibly important to the environment as well.
When you put this on Facebook, you posted pictures, right?
Correct.
You're telling me people looked at these pictures and still were defending the sticky paper?
A lot of them called it animals are going to have to be collateral damage.
I've seen images of creatures stuck to sticky traps, and it's terrible.
the most recent downy woodpecker was the worst. He really struggled and came across all bloody and exhausted and dying.
And they're so
They're
useful.
They're fantastic. And I think some people wrap this stuff around the tree just where a woodpecker would creep up the tree.
Mm-hmm. Well, there has been a technique called tree banding in which paper is wrapped around the tree, but the sticky part of the paper faces inward because this is to trap a creature that breeds in the soil and then walks up the trunk to get to the canopy. So the paper is created so it's easy for the insect to walk underneath it, and then they get trapped.
That sounds much better. I hope someone listening, I hope maybe this will prompt someone to come up with something that's not going to hurt animals, but will control this awful problem.
I think you hit it on the head. I may have cut you off a little bit, but you said a cage. And I think to be responsible here, you really do need to cage this material. It could be as simple as, you actually get like a suet cage. Mm-hmm. Suet cages, you can buy them real cheap if you feed the birds in the winter like I do. You got a dozen in the house. You put the sticky paper inside the suet cage.
Right, or chicken wire on a larger scale.
And then you hang that up, and lanternfly is still going to get in, but the larger creatures wouldn't be able to access it. And, I think chicken wire, because of the size of the openings, would be just the right size to catch the lanternfly, but not have enough surface area to hold. I can't believe this stuff held down a red-tailed hawk.
Yeah.
They're like the Hulk.
Yeah, they're like, at least a kilogram and a half usually. And it took out all his tail feathers and his wing feathers. Because of his size, he wasn't super injured, and he just needs to regrow all his feathers. But he could be a parent at this time.
Aren't raptors in general protected, period?
Yeah, all migratory birds are protected by the Migratory Bird Act.
And the bats, aren't the bats protected?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, one would think that the use of this material in this way might ostensibly even be illegal, certainly if you can prove that there was this unnecessary capture.
I don't know. People are allowed to let their cats out to kill migratory birds all the time, knowing that they do it, and they're not prosecuted. So that's another whole issue.
But I think your idea of a cage is good. I like the idea of the individual suet cages. I think they'd give you a better reading on how many lanternflies you had. If you really want to wrap it around the trunk of a tree, why not surround that with chicken wire? I don't think, a small bat might get caught in that, a little brown bat, which would still be terrible. But I don't think any larger birds would get trapped, and it would be good for the insects. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to go for the gold, get some hardware cloth and actually, make a little structure. Make it like an inch away from the tree, so you have to fly through the hardware cloth and then get to the sticky paper. But, somebody who's handy can do that and make the paper underneath replaceable. All you got to do is think about how do you make sure little guys can get in, but big things can't. Whenever, when you're protecting a planting from deer or birds and you have to do a full-size cage, you make sure the bees can get through. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, from a scientific standpoint, I'm trying to think, and there really is no pest control that relies completely on this kind of trapping. Because what you find is, for instance, if that trap is scented with a lure, with a sex lure or something, you're just going to be bringing more into the area. Mm-hmm. The trapping is meant to alert you to start your real control, never to just take care of things like this completely.
Right.
So, I thank you for bringing this to our attention. You've broken my heart for the day.
Sorry.
But I think this has a wider scale. Before anybody uses any kind of sticky thing like this out in the open randomly, think about these unwanted catches. Think about this collateral damage.
And get ready for the angry phone calls you're going to get for daring to suggest that we don't do this. I was really shocked.
Bring them on, baby. Bring them on. That's why I'm here. All right, Michele, keep doing your wonderful work, and I'll keep what you've told me in mind.
Thank you for listening.
Oh, thank you very much for bringing it to our attention.
Bye-bye.